everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk about the big blockbuster movies failing at the box office and whether social media is really to blame for their underperformance. So when we talk about movies and box office failures, the fact is you're always going to get certain films every single year that don't perform to expectations. It's simply a law of averages that not every single film is going to be a smash hit. But in 2023 particularly, we have seen some massive box office bombs, whether it was the likes of Shazam! Fury of the Gods, The Flash, Pixar's Elemental, Transformers Rise of the Beasts, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Now there have been other movies that have had larger grosses but have still performed under expectations, whether we look at the likes of Fast X or The Little Mermaid. Now whilst there has been much inquest and analysis on each of these films, a more recent narrative and discussion has focused on the impact of social media, and whether the more negative and toxic outrage and commentary is affecting interest in these films. Is the constant commentary around these movies ruining the overall theatrical experience? Is social media the main reason why movies are performing far worse in 2023? Now for me, I'm going to say the answer to that question is no. Now, is there a sizable amount of negative content on the internet within the online and pop culture community? Yes, there is. And you'd have to be pretty naive to deny that doesn't exist. Whilst there are some negative constructive criticism, a lot of the criticism is indeed very toxic, extreme, and uninformed. All you would need to do is to go onto YouTube and type anything from Kathleen Kennedy, Brie Larson, Alex Kurtzman, or Rian Johnson, and you would get hundreds, possibly even 1,000 videos concentrating around hate, complacency, or doomsday projections. So does it all have an impact? Well, it may have some within the online community, and unfortunately there will be many people who will listen far more to the negativity than actually going out to watch the movies themselves to formulate their own opinions. But when you step outside of the online bubble, the general audience who don't necessarily go and refresh on Twitter every 30 seconds, this is the audience that won't necessarily care about any narratives that goes online. And ultimately it's up to the studio to attract that type of audience. The audience who will only really go to the cinema perhaps maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Overall, they just want to be entertained with good movies and good product. Now, if the studio produces good movies, produces good storylines and good product, then a general audience will go and watch. And yes, of course, the marketing is very important, even more so now than ever when people have infinite amount of options in terms of entertainment and content. But if you combine all of those elements well together, then more than likely the movie will succeed. And it won't matter whatever negative content there is on social media. A prime example of this was the first Captain Marvel movie of 2019. Now we all saw the huge wave of negativity towards Brie Larson when she came up with that statement, trying to promote diversity within journalism, but also very much dividing and alienating the wider demographics that go to see comic book movies. But through goodwill with the general audience and putting the movie in between 2 monumental Avengers films, both Infinity War and Endgame, Marvel convinced audiences that Captain Marvel was an important movie that we all had to see in order to see how the battle would turn out against Thanos. And it ended up beating all of the negativity to gross over $1 billion. So while social media can cause some influence, it's still very much of a niche demographic in the grander scheme of things. Now, if social media were really that powerful, then a lot of these sequels and remakes and reboots wouldn't be happening to begin with. Kathleen Kennedy would have been sacked 7 years ago, post The Last Jedi, and probably we could say the same for Alex Kurtzman, coming in a couple of years after the new Star Trek. The MCU would have completely dismantled after Endgame, but all of those scenarios haven't taken place. In fact, you'll find many situations that once again, when you step out of the online community, actually contradict the certain narratives that we see on social media. But studios themselves continue to make the fatal mistake of deeming social media to be actual reality. And the fact is, it isn't. Whilst it may be easier to look into social media to collate a certain amount of audience opinion and reception, we can easily gauge the amount of likes and dislikes and overall audience discourse within certain platforms. The studios have to realise that a lot of social media opinion comes with its own individual agenda. A lot of the discourse and opinions will come through with its own confirmation bias, self-gratification, and much more self-interest in pushing somebody's platform rather than having a real passion or enthusiasm for the content itself. We also have to bear in mind that you had a lot of box office failures before social media ever existed into popular culture. But whilst it seems that social media is far more influential and impactful, the real reason for these films underperforming is once again down to the studios themselves. How much they're not respecting the source material or the characterization, the low quality in terms of their overall product, the lack of marketing for certain individual projects, the continued escalating high budgets, and just the overall lack of creativity and risk taking, which again leads to the audience becoming fatigued with seeing the same thing again and again and again. So whilst I do understand that social media is very much relevant and very much pivotal in not only entertainment but also overall business in general, we do have to understand that there is still a big wider world out there. There are millions and millions of people who don't even know anything about what's going on within social media and just on a base level want to be entertained. And that's the audience that really studios, if they want to have these movies succeeding again at the box office, really need to tap into and really look at themselves for their failures rather than just blaming social media overall. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings when looking at social media and whether it really is the cause of so many of the high profile films within 2023 failing at the box office. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this type of video and you'd like to see me cover more topics or discussions, then drop me further suggestions within the comment section and I'll see if I can provide further commentary for you. As is the case if you have any movies or television series that you'd like to see me review later on down the line, then also give me further suggestions and I will see if I can provide that commentary for you within the future on the channel. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves and I will see you very, very soon.